and welcome to part 2 of editing portraits in Photoshop. So last week, or last time if you remember, we were working in RAW, and after that we were editing and removing blemishes, so any imperfections that wouldn't last a lifetime, so little spots on the face, stray hairs, and the occasional wrinkle, if there were any. And so yeah, that's what we were doing last week. This week, today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be smoothing out the skin using a technique which is brilliant. It's called frequency separation. What this does, it takes the texture and then it takes another layer which we're going to make, which has been smoothed out, and it puts the two together to just smooth out the whole thing, but it also keeps some of the texture in there and it makes it look really nice, and it's quite good. It's really good. I use it like 90% of my portraits. So we're going to start off by merging these two layers together and then creating a new layer to that. So we're going to start by hitting Command, Alt, Shift and E. It's quite a handful, but the more you do this, the easier everything becomes. So all that's going to do is merge these two layers together and create it as a new layer. Now once we've done that, we're going to duplicate that layer there. And then we're just going to hide that layer above. First, we're going to call this layer 3 here. We're going to change that and we're going to call it Gaussian blur. So just like that, call it Gaussian. And so if you guessed, right, we're going to be going up to filter, down to blur, and then giving it a Gaussian blur. And then what we want for this, we want to blur it enough that everything's blurred and sort of melds into each other. But we also want it that we can make distinguishable notices between the features themselves. So you can still tell here you have an eye and an eye, a nose and a mouth, still tell this is the hair, but at the same time it's still blurred really quite well. So from there we just can hit OK and wait for it to load. Excellent. Now once we've done that, we're going to go up to layer 3 copy and we're going to make that layer visible. And now we're going to go up to image, go down to apply image, and what we're going to be doing, we're going to be selecting our Gaussian layer here, and then we're going to be going to our blending, and then we want to hit subtract. Then once we've hit subtract, we want to go over to scale, set that to 2, offset 128. Then once we've done that, we can hit OK, and voila, it looks horrible. But don't worry, we're going to sort that out. So you notice we've got this grey sort of horrible look. To change that, we want to go over to our blending modes up here. Click on it and we'll get this drop down menu right here. Now what we want to do, we want to go down to soft light. Now that still looks too blurred for me. We're going to change that to hard light. It's a little bit better, but you know what, let's change it to vivid light. There we go, that's much better. So usually when you're doing this technique, these are the 3, soft light, hard light, vivid light, that I always use. So if it's too blurred, I usually change it to hard light, and if it's still too blurred, I change it to vivid light. Equally, if it's not blurred enough and you haven't got that nice texture, you go down to hard and then soft. It's preference really, you can choose whichever you want. Now that we've done that, we want to group our layer 3 copy and our Gaussian layer together. So to do that, we want to hit Command and then we want to hit Gaussian. And you'll highlight both layers, just like so. Next, what you want to do, you want to hit Command and G. And then all you're doing is just grouping them together like so. What we're going to do, we call this layer frequency separation, or FS for short. Now what we're going to do, we're going to create a layer mask on this layer. Now layer masks are brilliant. They allow you to reveal things and hide things on a layer without actually getting rid of it. So right now the layer mask is white. However, what we want to do, we want to change it to black. So white reveals something, black hides it. So in order to do that, we can either go up to Image, to Adjustments, and then down to Invert, like so. Or, if you want to do it quicker, which is, you can use the shortcut, Command and I. And all that's going to do is just make your layer mask black and hiding everything in that group, which is excellent. So, not hidden, hidden, not hidden, hidden. Just like so. If you want to sort of hide that layer mask, all you can do is hit Shift and then click on the layer mask itself. Just like so. So hit Shift and just click on the layer mask and you'll get that X which hides it all. What we next want to do, now we've hidden it, we now actually want to reveal just the skin tones and her skin underneath. So to do that, we want to go to our brush tool here. So you can either go along to this palette here, or you can hit B for a shortcut. And we want to go over to our color palette down here, and all we want to do is select white. Once we've done that, we just want to paint white on our layer mask over the area of the skin. If you notice, it starts to reveal what's actually underneath. Oh, a quick tip. What I like to do for this, I like to bring my flow down to about 26%, and then I like to paint from there. So I'm doing quite a quick job of this, because I'm just showing you how to. But when you're doing this, you might want to take a little bit longer just to make sure you get in between all the nooks and crannies on the skin. Make sure you don't paint over the eyes though, because if you do that, you notice it goes completely blurry and it's not so nice. And then we're just going to come over here, do this down here, smooth this up. And as you notice, everything's actually smoothing out really nicely. Another quick tip, if you want to see where you've brushed over, where you've painted over, if you go over to Channels, which is right next to Layers, and you click on the FS mask, it will show you this red sort of layer, and all it's doing is just showing where you have and haven't painted. So red is where you haven't painted, and well, if you have painted over it, it just disappears as so. And this is a really good way of just being able to know what you have and haven't painted over. Just like so. As I said, you're going to want to take a lot more time than I am doing this. But as I said, I'm just showing you how to do it quickly. Now when it comes to doing the nose, you're going to need to be quite careful. Because if you go over too much, you notice it kind of just blends in and it's not too great. So what you're going to want to do is what I like to do. I generally don't go over sort of the nasal area at the bottom, so I don't usually go over that. So I'll go up to here. I'll sort of just go around it quite nicely. If you need to, make the brush smaller. And if you remember the shortcut from last time, by pressing Command and Alt, you get this red sort of dot. You drag to the left, it gets smaller. The light gets bigger. This is a great way of just switching between the brush sizes. It's really quick, and I like to use it. It's something I use all the time. So you know what? We're going to go there. So to get rid of the red area, we just go back to Channels, and we hit on the FS mask, and it comes right back to there. And that's all it really is to frequency separation. I mean, if you want to, you can bring down the opacity a bit, just to make sure. If you think it's too much if you think it's too soft, you can bring the opacity down and bring in a little bit more texture. But, so that's what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to stop about 78%. And yeah, that's all it really is to it. So you have the before, and you notice, we zoom in closely, you notice it's quite a lot of detail, and it looks quite sharp, and it's not overly smooth. And in things like this, when you're trying to create like a beauty image or like a fashion shot, you kind of want to smooth over the skin, and just like that, it actually becomes really quite nice. And yeah, that's all it is to it. It's a really great technique. I like to use it all the time in my fashion sort of stuff, and yeah, I hope you find it helpful as well. Thank you very much, and I hope you've learned something new.